Hey guys, my name's Sam and welcome to PrepMedic. In this week's video, we are going through all the gear that I carry with me in the backcountry. So as you guys know, my wife and I moved out to Colorado, and of course, since we're in Colorado, we're going to be doing a lot of hikes. This review video is not on something that I'm using in my professional life. This is actually just what I've decided to carry with me when we're doing our day hikes. We usually like to go for, 5 to 12 miles in the mountains and just enjoy our day. So I am a little bit more preparedness minded than some people might be. So I kind of have a group of stuff that I think it's important to have with you. This is how I pack it in the backcountry. I really hope that you guys can take this video and use it for ideas for yourself. I really want to see you guys prepared out there in the wilderness and be able to intervene. So while some of this might be a little over the top for you, this is what I've decided to carry. All right, so the pack itself, this is the Hill People Gear Connor version 2 pack. So you guys will recognize Hill People Gear. They also made that chest rig that I had or have that I use for my search and rescue operations. Super great pack. This is one of their backpacks they created. Very, very high quality. The color palette I decided to go with this pack is the khaki and ranger green. I like it because it still has that tactical look to it without being too overt. They make this in a couple different colorways and they all look pretty good, so you can pick what's right for you. So let's start with the exterior of the pack. This is a very sturdy fabric, very high quality zippers, everything like that. Stitching will last you forever. On the front here, you notice you have these 2 buckles here and savers for the excess nylon that comes off that. What this holds together is this keeps these 2 wings on either side close to the pack, and you can use these wings to store skis, a rifle, any number of things. And then there's a water bottle holder right underneath them on either side that will hold actually very, very large water bottles. So I can fit my aluminum water bottle in there if I want to take additional water for my dog, or if my wife's coming with me and doesn't want to carry a pack. Something like that can go right in there. In the front, you'll notice I've got these 2 mesh pockets, and these I actually found were absolutely perfect for the SOAR Rescue Med Mags. So I have a dedicated review on all of these, but I have chosen to carry the SOAR Rescue Med Mag, the bleeding one with the hemostatic dressings, which basically has your NAR, emergency trauma dressing, your flat folded Z-fold quick clot, a glove, and emergency blanket. So this is a super great kit. And then next to that on the other side, I'm carrying the Airway Med Mag, which has chest seals, ARS needles, NPAs, and gloves. So between the 2 of them, this carries a lot for even an IFAC. They fit perfectly into these pockets. And what's really nice is because these are both vacuum sealed in plastic, I don't have to worry about these getting damaged or having any weather affect them. Both of these have paper over the front, so you're not getting direct sunlight on the gear inside. So both those fit super well in those 2 pockets, don't take up too much room and are very light. And then in this one, I have a off-brand Sam Splint, essentially. So this is a splint. I got this out of the Get Home Alive kit from Live the Creed that I actually have a review coming up on. So I keep that in there. That's something that's kind of important for your backwoods medicine, something like that. If somebody breaks an arm or a leg, you need to be able to hike them out, and this will help with comfort and orthopedic injury down the road. So looking a little bit more at this pack, like I said, these wings can be used to secure any number of things, and the sides are actually a PALS webbing. So if you have a pouch you want to put on the outside, you can do that. You can also put that on the inside of there. So coming over here, you'll notice that I have my hydration tube. So I actually have the Ice Plate Flex mollied to the inside of this pack. Unfortunately, there's not a dedicated hydration pocket in here, but it's pretty easy to just route the hose up and then close the zipper most of the ways. I have an S carabiner that just keeps this hose in place, keeps me from catching it on anything, and it works super, super well. The back here, I was a little bit hesitant about this when I first saw it because I wasn't familiar with this kind of suspension system, but essentially it's got this yoke that is pretty separate from the pack. And this is actually super comfortable. So these straps are very, very wide. They're very good for load bearing, and then you just adjust them perfectly. So this sits right behind your back. I've had no issues hiking, have done about 50 miles in this so far, and it's very comfortable. Back here, it's a comfortable material, but it's not really resting on you that bad. And then in here, there is a hard frame that you could remove if you so chose, with some ribbing that goes up to give it more structure. Down here, I actually placed the Recon Belt. So this comes separately from this pack. This is Hill People Gear's Recon Belt, which helps you with some load bearing. It's really easy to detach. You just take that off and the whole thing will come off. I find that it helps. It lets me carry a little bit more gear, and then it gets some of the weight off my shoulders, although I have hiked with this pack without this belt, and it's just fine. I've had no issues. On this actually has laser cut webbing there, so you can thread MOLLE compartments. What I put on this one is a multi-tool. So here I've got the Leatherman Mut. So I use this for more of my tactical operations, but these things are expensive. I'm not gonna have like more than one or two. So this one I just take out of this and throw it into the covered tacos on my other tactical gear when I need it. And this is just the case that it comes with MOLLE'd straight to it. I've got a carabiner that can be used to hang a hat, gloves, anything like that. And then on the other side, I have the Blue Force Gear Tourniquet Now pouch. So this just folds down and gives me easy access to a cat tourniquet on my belt. So of course, I'm gonna have something like this on this. For securing the belt, this has a plastic Cobra buckle. So it sizes really well. I doubt this has the tolerances of some of the metal ones, but you're also not using this to rappel or anything like that. If you so chose, you could take this belt out of here and actually use it as a standalone battle belt in and of itself. So it couldn't really replace some of my tactical belts, but if you're somebody that likes hiking, you can secure what's essentially a fanny pack to the back of this and just carry some gear on the side and be pretty minimalist. So it's kind of a neat option to have with it. Down these straps, these guys, I'm sure there's a dedicated reason for these tabs here. These are just elastic stays. So I was using this to hold my cat tourniquet for a while. The one downside with that is you get a lot of the sunlight on it, which is going to eventually degrade your tourniquets. All right, so coming into the pack itself, you'll notice on the front this has this zipper here that opens either direction. The fabric that's over top is actually really stretchy. So this is stretchy. I keep this completely empty because then I can throw another base layer in, lunch, additional snacks, whatever the day holds, I can throw in some specialty items. You don't want to have your hiking pack completely filled up before you go anywhere because then you won't have any room for overflow items. Coming into the main pack. So you have to open both of those to open the pack itself all the way. When you first open it, you'll notice that I have this little pouch here, and this is one of the Overflow pouches from Vertex. I keep this right at the top because I can just get into it, and this has all the snacks, so it's the most important part of any hike or backcountry adventure. In here, I've just got some granola bars and trail mix or whatever tickles my fancy that day. As this opens, you can see it's actually pretty organized on the inside. I don't really like packs that you just stuff everything in. I like to have compartments. And what's really nice about this pack is on the back of this, and you can't see it because I've completely filled it up, but on the back of this, it's got the 612 MOLLE laser cut loop attachment from First Spear. So a very sturdy nylon loop attachment. You can put whatever you want on it for pockets. You know, if you want to carry a rifle or something in here, you could put mag pouches in there. You can put different IFAKs, pogey pouches, whatever it might be, can fit in this pack. So that's one of the reasons I really like it. Now, underneath this, and once again, it's gonna be kind of hard to see, I actually have the ice plate flex. So this is an original ice plate, one of the older ice plates because they're completely flat, holds 1.5 liters of water, and then I've routed the hose up through here through a Grimlock and then out to the front. One of the advantages of ice plates is that when you freeze them, they give you a lot of cooling. Obviously, because this is inside the pack behind a frame, you do not get that advantage here. The reason I went with it though is because one, this pack doesn't have a dedicated hydration compartment. So you have to put something on the back. You could MOLLE just a bladder, but if you just MOLLE'd a bladder to the back of this, you'd lose all of that MOLLE field. And I really wanted to put more pouches on it. So I used the ice plate flex, I MOLLE'd it to the back, and then I still have all of this MOLLE space. On this one, this is just a hook field that goes right on the identification panel of the flex here. So you can just stick that on, take it off, whatever you need. Down here, I've got an HSGI general purpose pouch. It's just one of their smaller pouches, and then a Maxpedition pouch. So right here, I have a small saw, not the most high quality saw on the planet, but it'll work to build a shelter. Next to that, I've got the Princeton tack headlamp. Once again, a pretty standard headlamp. Works well, it's very durable, water resistant, and it is pretty efficient on battery life. So I like to have that capability if we're caught in the dark. And then one more down, I've got about, I think, 50 feet of paracord. So any number of uses, including stringing up something for a shelter, carrying loads, helping create a litter, lashing things together. Paracord's a great thing to have. So that's all that's in this pouch. Right next to it, I've got a Maxpedition organization pouch, and in here I've got a spork spoon thing for if I forget and I need to eat some food. I've got some tape that's just can be used as a fix-all. I've got a orange whistle that has a small compass on it and then carries a bunch of Strike Anywhere waterproof matches. And then last but not least, I have a chem light here for potential markings, things like that. Next to that, I've got 12 feet of climbing webbing with a climbing carabiner. So once again, a lot of different uses for webbing. What I specifically have this in here for is to create a hasty harness for myself, or to use this to lash to somebody, create a harness on somebody else so I can drag them out solo if I have to. And then this can also be used to supplement any makeshift litters we would make out of tree branches, things like that. So I advise everybody carry some webbing. I've got webbing on my tactical gear. I've got webbing in my hiking gear. It's just about everywhere. Super, super useful. Coming down here, this is just a down jacket from Columbia. I use this in conjunction with the shell I have in this pocket to form some effective warm layers. We do a couple 14ers, so 14,000 foot peaks here in Colorado, and the weather up there can change on an instant. So it's really good to have something that can protect you in those circumstances. All right, next to that, I have some Bushnell binoculars. There's nothing special about these. These are actually pretty old. But it's nice to have these for spotting if you're out in the middle of nowhere, pretty scenery, or you see some wildlife in the distance. Just a good thing to have. I haven't really carried these in the past a whole lot, but I've started carrying them, and I think there's quite a lot of uses in the wilderness environment for them. And then last but not least, of course, you guys know me. In here, I am carrying a hiker first aid kit. So this looks like it's an REI pre-made kit. I have, of course, completely gutted it and put my own components in it. This is a very old case. It was actually owned by my grandfather, and I just dug it out of my hunting gear just a little while ago and replaced the contents. So I don't know how you can get this case right now, unfortunately. And I don't really recommend going with a lot of these pre-made kits from these outdoor companies because they don't really throw in a lot of what I feel are useful items. So as this opens up, it kind of accordion folds out, and I've got a number of things in here. This isn't really the life-threatening stuff. Most of the life-threatening stuff is on the outside, so my airway med mag, my bleeding med mag, and then my tourniquet on the belt. In here, I've got a boo-boo kit. Once again, this is the boo-boo kit that's in the Get Home Alive kit from Live the Creed. I've cannibalized it, put it in here. This has all your main over-the-counter meds, so it's got your aspirin, acetaminophen, ibuprofen, antidiarrheals, antiemetics, things like that. It also has a CPR shield, tampon, an assortment of Band-Aids, and then some topical ointments for itching and pain. So a lot of stuff in here, really great to have. And then this just keeps it nice and protected in this sealed container. If the pack gets soaked, I still have access to all of this. And it fits really, really nicely right in this top pocket. Down there, I've got some Band-Aids that are just loose from this, so I don't have to open this for everything. I've got a standard lighter, nothing special there. And then over here, I've got some insect wipes. I do need to throw some little packets of sunscreen in here as well. Back here, this is a must in the backcountry or while you're hiking. I've got moleskin. So moleskin is super adhesive, and it's got basically the quality of skin. So it's supposed to go over a place where you're getting a blister, and then it can help protect that skin from it. If you already have a blister, you can cut a donut out from it, and it protects that blister from getting any worse. Really good to have, especially if you're gonna be going multiple days. You don't wanna wreck your feet the first day and be up a creek, so to speak. So I have some big Band-Aids back there as well. And then next to that, I have a pair of tweezers for removing splinters, you know, what have you, just the minor stuff you might encounter in the backcountry. Up here, I've got various different kinds of gauze, so some 4x4s, 5x5s, and these are for your minor wounds that just need some pressure over them to help them heal and stop the bleeding. Head wounds are a good example. I've got a little bit of a bigger abdominal dressing up top. One thing that I always like carrying with me is some duct tape. So in this pocket, I actually have about 5 feet of duct tape, I think, and this is a trick that I learned, I forget where I learned it, but you basically just take duct tape. I have a business card under here that's folded in half, and I just wrapped the duct tape flat across it. So this has the duct tape you need to fix a tool or something like that, and then it fits really nicely and flatly in here, so I don't need to carry the whole roll that takes up so much space. I have a pair of nail clippers right next to that. And then I've got a North American Rescue triangular bandage or a cravat. This can be used for splinting in conjunction with the splint on the outside used for a sling. It can be used as a bandana, any number of things, even a makeshift mask. Say we find a restaurant in the middle of nowhere and they won't let us in. I can throw that on as a mask if I need to. Have 2 North American Rescue gloves there, so just to protect yourself, and then some lip balm that's SPF 40, so just good to have. Behind here, I do carry 2 little hand warmers. They can be put in gloves, traditionally is what they're used for, but you can also take them if it's a really cold day or you're stranded out overnight, put them in your armpits or down on your groin, and that will help keep your core body warm throughout the night and help you survive that. So that all is pretty light, and like you saw, these all just kind of sit at the base of this pack. There's no real reason to molly them in because it's at the bottom of everything, and the ice plate basically keeps everything in place. You will notice that this material back here, it is a loop filled. So let's say you just had a bunch of these overflow pouches from Vertex, you could just stick them on the back there. So like I mentioned before, this pocket right here has my shell. So at the top, I've got a beanie hat, just in case it gets really cold. And then I have a shell by Vertex. So this is a super high quality rain jacket, outer shell. So when you're layering, you've got everything on underneath that wicks, and then I've got my down coat that kind of provides that insulation, and this protects me from the environment. So this will keep me dry, it'll keep the wind off me. You know, sometimes I'll just use this and not the down coat if it's windy but not particularly cold. It's a nice lightweight layer to have. I do realize that multicam is not always the best for a potential survival situation because, you know, obviously it makes you harder to see. To be honest though, this is the highest quality coat I own. So I figured I'd just throw this in here. It shares double duty with my tactical gear as well. If we're doing like a cold or rainy operation, I'll wear this. But most of the time it just lives in my hiking pack. If I need to be more visible, I'll take some of my webbing or something like that and wrap it around, and it'll make me a little bit more visible. So super high quality there, and it's just good to have those layering options. In Colorado, even the middle of summer can get freezing cold up on a mountain, and there have been several deaths and injuries because of that. One thing I don't have in this pack that I still need to get is some water purification tools. So I am looking at like the Life Straw, something like that, and then I do have some iodine tablets I intend to throw in just in case you are stranded, you have a way of purifying the water. Most of the time drinking some stream water in the mountains isn't going to kill you, but you don't know what died upstream or what's going on. So always good to have some kind of water purification system on you. The other thing I forgot to mention is down below this pack, if you want to carry a little bit more sustainment gear, this actually has 2 securing straps down here. You could carry a sleeping bag, a tent, both. And then with the belt added on, it actually gives it quite a lot of load-bearing capabilities. I haven't rucked with this yet, but I do plan on throwing some sandbags in here and seeing how it holds up over a long distance. These are just all the things that I carry in my pack. You know, there are things that you're going to add, take out. And like I said at the beginning, I am a little bit more of a prepper than some people might be. So some of this might be a little overboard, but I like being prepared for whatever things throw at me. And I believe this pack gives me the ability to survive for at least a 24-hour period if I got lost in the mountains on my own. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. I will leave links to all of the products shown here in the description, and I will see you next week.